and welcome to Connected, episode 448. It's made possible this week by our sponsors, ExpressVPN and Indeed. My name is Stephen Hackett, and I have the pleasure of being joined by Myke Hurley.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm a little under the weather this week. I apologize for how my voice sounds. Maybe some people will like it, maybe some people won't, but I can't really do anything about it. Hi, Federico.
Yeah, hi. I dig your voice.
Yeah, you like it?
I'm a fan. Yes.
Sinus infection daddy.
Yeah. You sound like the British caramel voice.
Oh,
yeah,
British caramel. That's
it
nice.
works for
like
me.
That.
Yes.
That's a good nickname. I'll take that. I'll take that nickname. Well, I'll try. You won't like it if I'm like, that's not. When you don't want that, but just the voice.
Just the voice. Just the voice. It works.
British caramel.
Before we get into follow-up, I just want to say thanks to all the listeners. I got lots of warm wishes in the feedback form and in Discord and on Mastodon. I'm feeling much better than the last couple of weeks, and it's good to be back because this now marks a full week of work, being back since my...
This kind of feels like follow-up.
Car accident. It is kind of follow-up.
Following up on the health of your brain?
Yes, it's much better. The passionate ones, though, have been feisty.
Oh, no.
Over on the Relay fandom, I've got a page, and it listed the phones I'd broken, and added to that now is a 2015 Toyota Tacoma and a trash cart.
Yes, it's not just phones you've broken. It's just, it is listed, it is a wiki, basically, a fandom wiki, and it is things you have broken, including all of the phones, some watches, some Macs, some accessories, body parts, and now miscellaneous, which includes the 2015 Toyota Tacoma and a trash cart.
My height is listed as here as well. It says probably taller than Myke. And that's good.
Emotionally taller than me, anyway. But this is the thing, though, Stephen. Or do I think that about you? You know what I mean? Right? Because that's the whole thing. It's like, people that I'm like, intimidated by or whatever, that I think they're taller than me. And now, like, this is like it's like the Schrodinger's box kind of situation. Do I think you're taller than me or not? The answer is yes, I actually do think you're taller than me. Who could tell? I think you're both taller than me.
Steven is not taller than you.
Well,
and I am
you tell that to my brain.
Just slightly taller than you. But
you see, look, this is how you're trying to get in my head.
No, Steven is definitely not taller than you.
Yeah, but you're saying you are, right? So like this feels like a trick now.
But like it's just I'm just saying, objectively speaking, so maybe by a couple of centimeters, but that's it. Like it's not that huge difference that you should feel bad about,
I'm gonna get those like shoes that have lifts in them.
Okay, well, with the heels, yes.
So I can like definitively be taller than everyone at WWDC. It's important to me.
Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure that Berlusconi used to wear those.
Oh, really?
When he used to be our prime minister, he used to wear those type of shoes so that
not a ringing endorsement.
Yeah, it's good company to be in.
That's, I mean, just you and Berlusconi. I mean, what a duo.
You have often said, like, Myke, you remind me of Berlusconi. You have said that to me a few times.
Have I?
No. Thankfully, never. You know what I mean?
What if we see Myke come around the corner at WBC and he's in a long trench coat and he's like twice as tall, and it's just Myke sitting on Dan Morin's shoulders, like two kids trying to sneak into a movie theater.
If Dan's up for it. I don't know why specifically you chose Dan for that, but I like it. Me and Dan, we could work together.
Yeah, I think y'all would be good partners in this.
Yeah. I had some anonymous feedback.
Anonymous?
Sent to me via a tip line, the Myke Hurley direct tip line. This is no joke. This came to me, and I cannot say where I got this information. And it goes thusly. About Tim Cook's Apple Watch. Remember we were talking about this last time, right?
Yeah.
And wondering if he has some kind of special watch that he puts on. So this feedback goes like this. On a daily basis, he's most likely to be running an internal build of the next version of watchOS, probably from the release train that Apple calls Live On, quote, Live On. These are internal.
Oh, I thought that was meant to be read as live on, like Beats Radio, but
I read
go
this like 3 times and realized it probably contextually is live on. And I was the thing is, as I was getting ready to read this today, I'm like, make sure you say live on, make sure you say live on and not live on. Live on.
Okay.
These are internal builds that are not so buggy that you can't use them for real life usage. So like they are builds with current new features on them. But you can kind of make it work, right? So this might be, it has some stuff that's going to come in watchOS 10, but maybe not all of it. These live-on builds have a sensitive UI toggle in Control Center that disables anything that can't be seen by people who are not at Apple. Disabling it can also swap the current watch face. Of course, Tim could be using some other watch when he's out and about, but Apple folks have become really good at using pre-release confidential software in public without being spotted. So whenever there is a live-on build on any device, there's a button, and you can just tap that, and it just hides it and makes it look like the current version, and then probably removes all sensitive data from view.
Nice. I wonder if they should have a shortcut to do this. You know, they should have
by location or whatever.
No, like a live-on shortcut action that you
live
just
on.
Press a button and
No,
it switches your...
they need it to work, so they can't use shortcuts for it.
Ooh,
that's unnecessary.
okay.
Shortcuts
Well,
works.
what?
Like that's not the issue. That's not the thing.
Yeah, last time I checked, do we hate shortcuts on this podcast?
Yeah, what's happened now? Why is that?
Sometimes it's buggy, you know?
Steven's taken a stand, everyone.
Can I change switch on in the relay footer to live on and see if anybody notices?
Live on.
Live on.
Yeah, live on.
Okay, so the Myke Hurley tip line is a thing.
Oh, I get
Like
tips,
all
baby.
of this is
Don't you
interesting,
worry.
but also the source, like this whole thing is also interesting. You know, the
I
Myke
trust the
Hurley...
source, is what I'll say.
Oh, you trust the source?
I recently,
Fascinating.
I've been, you know, as they say, getting little birdies, you know?
Are you the new Mark Gurman?
I wouldn't say that. You know, maybe if you think about it, maybe Mark Gurman is the old Myke Hurley. Have you ever thought of that? You know what I mean? Things are changing around here. Rumor roundup, it's like it's broken out now. It's just my life.
Yeah, you blew my mind with that. Okay.
You don't like it, do you? You don't like that I have this thing. You're like, why didn't I have this thing?
No, I'm fine. No, I love it. It means we can know stuff before. Like I love all about this. Yeah.
I got a few little things, but none of it's relevant for today's episode.
Okay. All right. There's nothing else you want to share? You sure?
Nothing that's really that interesting.
Anything about the Mac Pro?
Not yet.
Anything about iPadOS 17? Can we go rumor shopping? Like, can we just ask you about
You
stuff?
want to come down and see what I got hiding in the back?
Let's say, hey, rumor Santa, what you got for me?
Take a look inside of this trench coat. Remember the Dan Moran trench coat? I got some rumors in here. You know what I mean? Dan Moran's holding on to them for me.
Have you ever played Resident Evil 4? It's like there was the merchant that would go, what are you buying?
Oh, hello, mate. What would you like to buy? That's all I've got for you today. That's
Okay.
The tip line is closed.
Okay. All right.
Tip
The
technique.
tip shop has
The tip shop.
wrapped up. We were recently trying to work out what a Mac Power user would be who wasn't a Mac Power user. And listener Nick,
i.e. the two of us, me and Federico. That was who we were.
Nick sent in some amazing suggestions. So starting at the bottom, you have Mac user. And then you have...
This one, when I read this in the document, it's just like, oh, Steven and Jason are the Mac Power users. Myke and Federico are Mac users. I just really like that. Like, we're that low down. We're just like, we just use Macintoshes. We're nothing else.
Then we have Mac Pro user, Mac Max user, and then Mac Power user, where David and I sit on our
Okay, I see.
thrones.
For the audio complexity, I like Mac Max users.
Me too.
Mac Max.
This whole list is just perfect. Nick just nailed this. It's so good.
Mac Max. We're the Mac Max users.
Yeah, I'm happy to sit at the MU level, though. The Mac. I'm a Mac user.
Just Mac user? Okay.
Just Mac user. You know, yeah, stage 1 evolution. Just Mac user.
Oh, and we evolve into... It's a 4-stage evolution, this one.
Yeah, it's unprecedented, really.
Yeah. Mac user. ChatGPT is back in Italy.
Yeah, Federico, you saved the day.
I saved AI when you think about it.
That's so good.
Will
Yeah,
it spare your life when it comes for us all?
I don't think so. I think it will not. It will not remember. I think I'm doomed, just like the rest of you, honestly. But yes, so the Italian privacy. I don't know how you call them. Like it's like a government agency that controls all privacy related affairs for web services and apps and tech companies. It's been going after OpenAI because of their data collection practices and how they were collecting data from minors. I think it's definitely like it's all about like they were unhappy about how OpenAI was verifying the users' ages basically, and also there was also like the
It's also GDPR, right?
Yeah. All that OpenAI needed to take care of, and they worked with the Italian government on users' age verification, and now the whole service is back, and I am able to use once again the OpenAI website, the ChatGPT website, and I'm very happy about that for a couple of reasons. The first one being I'm a ChatGPT Plus subscriber, and now I can take advantage of, GPT-4 and GPT-4 based enhancements again, because those are not available via the API. And one of those, for example, that I already have access to is plugins. So I've been sharing some feedback back and forth with the folks at Zapier. Zapier are one of the first services to have ChatGPT plugin integration. And one of the things I'm doing now is like when I'm chatting with ChatGPT, I can create tasks in my task manager from ChatGPT.
Like I know it's good, but it's also you know what I mean? Like the idea that you can hook an AI directly into Todoist to be like, go wild.
Look, it's horrible. It's a nightmare, which is why I'm doing it. Like I want to be, take me on this nightmare ride. It's like, what people watch horror movies when you think about it. Why do people watch horror movies? Like, why would you want to be intentionally terrified? This is the horror movie equivalent of ChatGPT. It's like, yes, hook it up to all services and let's see what happens. That's the sort of energy that I have. And recently, this is even more horrifying, but recently, if you are a ChatGPT subscriber, you can add in the ability to browse the web. So you can have ChatGPT go out, have a hop around websites and just to see what it learns.
What do you like
for you? See, when it doesn't know something, it just looks it up and it works. So I am happy that they worked with the Italian government to take care of this privacy stuff. Not that it affects me anyway because I'm not a minor anymore. But yeah, it's all back. I've been charged. My credit card has been charged for my subscription again. It was paused last month, and all is good. ChatGPT is back in Italy.
Maybe I'm not big brain enough here, right? But I want to read you a quote from The Verge's article about this. So it says, among the changes, OpenAI linked The Verge to a new form that EU users can submit to remove personal data under Europe's GDPR. It also says that a new tool will verify users' ages upon sign-up in Italy. And it published a Help Center article that outlines how OpenAI and ChatGPT collect personal information, including information about contacting its GDPR mandated data protection officer. I'm not convinced that OpenAI knows all the information it's collected. So, and because there have been many references to this idea, like when talking about copyright, that they're like, oh, well, we don't know what's in there. We don't know where it came from.
I read this the other way, that this is about like the information that OpenAI has about me as a user, not about data that it may have about me in its model somewhere.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I read it kind of the other way around.
Maybe that's the correct thing, but I still think that the idea remains of like there could be personal information about all of us in the models, and I feel like that's violating my privacy. But yeah, but you know what? You're probably right. It's about stuff that you have collected.
There's definitely stuff about you in here. I just asked ChatGPT who Myke Hurley is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. It starts out by saying he's shorter than all of his co-hosts.
Whoa!
Didn't
It
really
knows.
expect
It
that.
truly knows me.
It truly knows.
You were.
Wow.
I'll just read this. Mike Hurley's a British podcaster and co-founder of the podcast network Relay FM. He was born on September 23rd, 1984. That's not
Are you
true.
being serious? Is that what it says? That's every part of that is wrong. All 3 parts of that are wrong.
Hurley started his career as a graphic designer, but eventually shifted his focus to podcasting.
Whoa! I had no idea. This is good. This is really good for me.
In addition to his work as a podcaster, Hurley is also an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's true.
He co-founded Relay FM in 2014 with his fellow podcaster Stephen Hackett. That's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
The network has since grown to include dozens of shows and a team of employees.
Wow, so much wrong in there. Good work, AI. You did it again.
You're also known for your philanthropic work. Philanthropic work. He has raised thousands of dollars for charity through events like the Relay FM St. Jude Children's Research Hospital fundraiser.
Try hundreds of thousands, ChatGPT. You know what I'm saying?
Try $2 million, ChatGPT.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, try millions of dollars, ChatGPT.
Mike, I need some icons done.
Okay. You just let me know, and I'll whip them up. I'll use my old skills. You won't even know what you're going to get. It's going to blow your mind.
Yeah, are you up to date on current design trends?
Oh, I'm in Figma, you know. I'm in Figma these days. Checking out Framer. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah,
Oh,
sure.
man. I corrected it, saying that you had raised millions for St. Jude, and it apologized.
Damn
you were
right.
correct that Mike Hurley has raised millions of dollars.
Damn right.
But then the rest of this is chaos. The annual fundraiser is a 24-hour live stream event
Okay.
in which hosts and community members come together to play games, host auctions, and raise money for the hospital.
Okay.
Since its inception in 2014, not true, the Relay FM St. Jude fundraiser has raised over $10 million for the hospital.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ChatGPT. I appreciate that. That's really good. I appreciate these are the ambitions you want from the AI, right? Like oversell me, don't undersell me.
It's incredible. Very useful.
What version of ChatGPT are you using?
It says in the footer, right? Let me see. March 23rd version. So
3.5 or 4.
3.5, I think.
No wonder.
Not the good stuff. Not the good stuff.
I think I'm on the waiting list for 4, but I don't think I'm in it yet.
I
pay
can
for
hold
it.
on. I
Pay the
can
money.
give you the ChatGPT 4 answer.
Pay the money. What if
just
it's
let me-
like,
let me-
imagine
let
if
me
it
log
says
in.
like, apparently tens of millions of dollars is what I was told.
All right, hold on. We're
Okay.
checking this live. Let me confirm that I'm using
Doing it live.
Let me confirm that I'm using ChatGPT Plus. Let me switch to 4. Let me ask, who is Myke Hurley? Let's see. It's typing.
This is good.
It says Myke Hurley is not a widely known public figure.
Are you being serious right now? Is that what it says?
As of my knowledge, cutoff date in September 2021. Myke
How dare
Hurley.
you.
That's because I spelled you with the I. Hold on.
What?
Who is
What?
autocorrect. I'm sorry, man. Who is Myke with a Y? Hurley.
Yeah, he's a public
Myke Hurley
figure.
is a British
There you go.
podcaster, entrepreneur,
Thank
and
you.
co-founder of podcast network Relay FM. Hurley started his career in podcasting in 2010 and has since become known for his work on various technology and creative-focused podcasts. Along with Stephen Hackett, he founded Relay FM in 2014, which hosts a range of podcasts covering topics like technology, productivity, design, and more. Some of the popular podcasts on Relay FM include Cortex, Upgrade, Connected, and The Pen Addict.
Damn right.
He is a philanthropist.
I really like how much the two of you were struggling with that word.
It's so hard.
Myke Hurley is not primarily known as a philanthropist. He's best known for his work as a podcaster.
Oh, you asked it if I was a philanthropist.
While it is possible that he may have been involved in charitable activities or causes, there is no significant public information available.
Get the hell out. What is going? Why does the old version think I'm a philanthropist, but the new version's like, no,
Yeah.
man, not good enough.
Yeah.
Try again.
Hold on. Easy, tall.
This is ridiculous.
I could not find any public information about Myke Hurley's height.
Nobody
Yeah.
can. Try
Nobody-
getting it in my
no.
brain. It's not public in
Yeah.
there either.
Yes, it is.
No one knows, man.
So you're either a philanthropist or you're not, depending
You know
on
what?
the
I will
AI.
take that I'm not considered a philanthropist for the more accurate telling of me, because I don't consider myself a philanthropist. Like, we raise money for a great charity once a year. I'm not like on the board of a charity. You know, I feel like that's when you're a philanthropist, like when you're doing it like all over the place. You know what I mean?
They didn't give you a board seat after the last
That's
podcast?
unbelievable that you would talk to me in this way. And I, and you know, look, to be fair, maybe the flexies could be considered an ongoing philanthropic work.
They are for Federico, that's for sure.
I was going to say, however, I historically do not give a lot of money. In the reviews.
I do so much. I got so much philanthropy going on every time we do the games unconnected. Like, you know, I am a very generous person because I lose every single game.
Yep.
So,
And I get a lot of mail delivered to my house for you from these charities.
look, you gotta save those dogs, okay? They are in need, and they need money for food and stuff. So
The dogs do.
the dogs do, yeah. Cats also, you know.
Also cats, it's, you know.
Yeah.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by ExpressVPN. We all know how a VPN protects your privacy and security online, but ExpressVPN can be used to unlock movies and shows that are only available in other countries. So if you've run out of good stuff to watch on Netflix, this is really going to broaden your horizons. So here are some examples of things you can watch via ExpressVPN. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is on Netflix Canada, an excellent comedy. How I Met Your Mother is on Netflix in Germany, and Star Trek Discovery on Netflix UK. And ExpressVPN is super easy to use. You install the app, you hit a button, and you're on your way. And one of my favorite things is it's so ridiculously fast. There's no buffering or lag. You can stream with no problem. ExpressVPN lets you control where you want websites to think that you're located. You can choose from almost 100 different countries. So just imagine all the Netflix libraries you can get through. So if you love Korean dramas, you can use ExpressVPN to watch Parasite on South Korean Netflix.
It was the best picture.
And it's not just Netflix. ExpressVPN works with any streaming service, Hulu, BBC iPlayer, YouTube, whatever you want. And it works on all your devices, phones, media consoles, smart TVs, and more. So you can watch what you want on the big screen or while on the go. So if you want to get access to hundreds of new shows, go to expressvpn.com/connected, and you can get 3 extra months of ExpressVPN for free. That's EXPRESS, expressvpn.com/connected. Our thanks to ExpressVPN for their support of the show and Relay FM.
As your resident Mac user on the show, I have suggestions for another Mac user, Federico. We should issue a slight bit of informational correction. So a few people wrote in with this to tell us that CleanShot X, which is the app that we all use for screenshots, also has OCR, like Text Sniper.
What?
So
Where?
I didn't know this. It's in the menu. So Steven told me about this.
my
If you click the
God.
menu, capture
Yeah.
text, OCR, and it works just the same as Text Sniper. So you can do the selection and get the text, because CleanShot
Let's
X
see.
is one of the
I'm
best
doing
apps
it
on the
now.
Mac.
Yeah,
No,
and
no.
you can use the CleanShot X preferences to assign it a shortcut. So I have Command-Shift-2 that gives me the little crosshairs, and I can go in and select some text. It's awesome.
Sometimes you do that incorrectly, Stephen, and put the Euros character into a show document like you just did.
Yeah, I think I hit Control or something, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet because it just gets the text. It doesn't make a screenshot, and but it just puts the text on your clipboard. And
Very cool.
I've been using it for a bunch of stuff. It's really cool.
You know what CleanShot should do, which I'm now scrolling through the list of actions. They don't have capture and run shortcut. Like they should have in the screenshots category. They should have one of the actions should be capture and run shortcut with the input,
the whatever it is.
with the image input. Yeah, they don't have that,
That
which
would
is
be
too
cool.
bad.
Yeah.
How do you assign, Stephen, the capture text without line breaks? So Command-Shift-2, and in theory this should work now. Let's see. This is so cool that it's built in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it totally works. Yeah. See, I just sent you. I captured this from the document using the screenshot tool, and it's perfect. Okay,
That's really good.
All right. So thank you. Who sent this in? Everybody sent this in.
We got this from a bunch of people, so thank you to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, a bunch of people. Yeah.
Josh wrote in with a link to T-Rex, which does this as well. It also has a very cute icon of a little dinosaur. It allows you to automatically trigger a URL scheme or a shortcut. T-Rex has a terminal app, integration with Alfred and Raycast, and shortcuts integration as well. So this might do some of what you want, but it's obviously not in the app that you'd prefer to use, Federico.
Wait, what does this do? Copy the uncopyable. Huh.
Yep.
Nice
It puts
title.
a tiny dinosaur in your menu bar. It doesn't have to do anything past that.
But it's OCR, but you can run like actions on the OCR text.
Okay.
Quinn wrote in to say Swish is a
I
really
know this
good
one.
window manager. But it has a grid option, and it lets you manage windows by swiping on your trackpad. So it's another window management app. Jimmy writes in to say Shortcat is an app which indexes Shortcat,
Tall dog.
like shortcut but a cat. Well, not Short Dog. I don't know if anyone makes an app called Short Dog. But Shortcat is an app which indexes all of the UI elements it can from the current app that you're looking at and assigns keyboard codes to them so you can select things directly from your keyboard rather than needing to use a mouse.
How?
I think it's using accessibility preferences and stuff like that to pull that stuff in, and then it assigns keyboard
I'm looking at the
controls to you.
screenshots now. Yeah. Now this is interesting. So, for example, they have a screenshot when they're showing like the GitHub website. One of the tabs on a GitHub repo is pull requests.
Yeah.
And they assigned PU to just switch to that tab, which, it means in that case, Safari will click on that, shortcut will click on that thing. Oh, this is so cool. Huh.
You could do some fun stuff with that. And this is how you get a cat on your Mac. Got dinosaurs on the Mac, cat on the Mac.
Mm-hmm.
I want to recommend one that Eleanor sent into Federico. You might be using this. One of my favorite apps, Rocket. It's just a good way to get emoji quickly.
I need to install this. I am familiar with this one. I need
Super
to install
good.
this.
It's like Slack and Discord emoji control. So like colon, and you just start typing. It gives you emoji.
Okay.
For a while, the app wasn't getting updated with new emoji, but that's been fixed now, and they just got the most recent ones too.
That's good. That's good.
So they're back on it again, which I'm very happy about because I love this app. And Peter recommends, I think, one of Steven's favorite apps, Solver 3.
Yes.
Great calculator, notepad, and spreadsheet formula combo app. It's on Setapp as well.
Yep. And just out for the iPad now.
So I have a few things that I need to mention because this is a work in progress. This installing all these Mac apps as a new Mac user. So there's one that I started using that I'm not completely sure if I want to keep it or not, but I think I want to mention it. It's called RCMD. So this app, R stands for write and CMD for the command key on your keyboard. So it lets you remap the right side command key on your keyboard, which I would bet it's the one that nobody uses, like the command key on the right side.
I sometimes use it, but yes.
You use that? You use that one?
So I use it for some apps that I've assigned to keyboard shortcuts, like global keyboard shortcuts that are like over on that side of the keyboard, right? So like Command Option P brings up pcalc for me, for example. But I understand that a lot of people would use this one very infrequently because most of the most used commands are on the left side.
Yeah, exactly. Like you have Option and Shift, and usually hotkeys have a combination of those modifiers. So, but if you're like me and you never use the right side command key, RCMD lets you create launchers for apps just by pressing the right side CMD command key and a letter. So, for example, if I do right side command key S, it opens Safari, and it does all of these like key assignments on its own. But you can remap those manually, of course. And there's more. If the top suggestion for, again, in this case, the letter S, is already the frontmost window, and you press Command S again, it cycles to the following recommendation. So Safari, for example, is front and center, and I do Command S again, it just opens Spark. Spark is front and center now. Command S, it goes back to Safari. So it lets you cycle through multiple apps that start with the same letter. And of course, you can remap whatever you want. So this is something that I'm playing around with. For the dock, I mentioned Almighty last week or a couple of weeks ago. That's been sort of kind of acting up for me. It wasn't super reliable. And so I started looking for alternatives. And I want to recommend DockMate. DockMate. Super cool utility to do what I wanted, which is like you hover over a icon in your Mac OS dock, and it shows you a window preview of the open windows for that app. DockMate is actually even better than what I was doing before. So when you hover over an icon in your dock, you see a little thumbnail with a preview of the windows for that app that you have open. You can add a new window from there, and it's got special types of windows for Apple Music, the podcast app, Spotify, and get this, calendar and Fantastical. So if you hover over the, like I'm doing it now, I'm hovering over the Fantastical icon in my dock, and it shows me a special pop-up with my calendar events for the day.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, and what else did I want to mention? I had something else that I wanted to bring up, but I'm forgetting now. So yeah, that's my follow-up for today.
Stephen, did you ever imagine that Connected was going to be the show that you were on that has weekly Mac app picks?
No, I did not.
The other one was also another Mate. This one is called Media Mate. It changes the look of the volume and brightness sliders on macOS to make them look more like iOS, like a more compact thing. Yeah,
and they're
it's super
colorful.
neat. The color you can choose. You can choose the look.
That's cool.
I think I'm gonna pay for this one because I really like what it looks like.
There's so much cool development going on the Mac. Just imagine if iPadOS could have this kind of stuff.
Which brings me to something that I wanted to say.
Okay.
So we've been having this. Hold on. We've been having this conversation, right? Thinking ahead to next month, when by this time in a month we'll be together. Hopefully, knock on wood, and nothing's gonna happen. We'll be together. I guess the question on my mind is, what can Apple do to bring you back, right? Because I won't lie to you guys, I still fundamentally believe in the idea of like a tablet computer that can be a laptop, can be a desktop thing, you can touch or you can use as a laptop. Like ideally, Apple should make that kind of computer, right? But I also feel like it's not just about the hardware, it's not just about the form factor, it's also about what the software lets me do with it. And while I do believe we are going to see some Stage Manager improvements this year, I don't think they're gonna be improvements along the lines of, oh, well, we screwed up last year, sorry, we're gonna give you real multi-window like macOS. I don't think they're gonna do that. But I also don't think they're going to just open up iPadOS to say, yeah, it's going to be like macOS. Install whatever you want. You want to have a terminal? Go install a terminal. You want to download a bunch of emulators from developers' websites? Go do that. And you can play Dolphin emulator on your iPad Pro. I don't think they're going to do that. So I think given how, I've sort of, quote unquote, seen the light over the past few months, I think what they can do to bring me back is actually make a Mac computer that is also a touchscreen and where you can detach the display. And
that's closer. Because I just think if this is what you're enjoying, right? Like if you are enjoying this
very much,
you're too far gone.
Yeah,
right.
That's the thing.
You can't come back from this. to something that is like realistically what iPadOS is going to be. But like again, it's like not to say that it's like, oh, you know, and you know this, but it doesn't mean the iPad has no place for you anymore. But just for this tool that you want to use to get your work done or whatever. Yeah, but
I'm actually right now I'm like choosing. Given that I'm basically started using the iPad for testing my shortcuts, but on a daily basis, it's like it. And I'm sorry to say this. Look, I'm very sorry to say this, that it's come to this, but it's turned into a media consumption device.
But the iPad's like nothing can touch it. Like you could do so many things on an iPad. We've all done them.
It's the thing I'm using in the bedroom at the end of the day when Silva goes to sleep, and I'm like, okay, I want to read something for a few hours, or I want to catch up on my RSS feeds, or like I want to like do some very basic, like saving my tasks for the following morning, like that sort of thing. It's perfect for that. And right now I'm actually choosing, I have an 11-inch iPad Pro, but I also have an iPad mini. And so I'm actually like, I'm running this experiment right now where I restored my iPad mini from the same backup of the 11-inch iPad Pro, and I'm testing them side by side. I still don't know about those two. The iPad mini is obviously much, much lighter than the 11-inch iPad Pro. It's like half the weight of the 11-inch iPad Pro. But the 11-inch iPad Pro has a nicer display, and like it or not, Stage Manager, if you want to use more than 2 apps at the same time, you can do that. So, but yeah, overall, it's come to this, where the iPad, whatever I'm going to choose between these two, I just don't put it on my desk with my studio display and my keyboard anymore. Like, why would I, right? Why would I?
The Mac is a device that I do my work on and can watch a video on if I want to.
Yes.
My iPad is where I watch all my videos, read all my articles. I can also respond to an email. And like,
but you cannot do your work on.
Right, but I can. Though.
Well,
but it's not the best one.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of my work, not all of it, but I can do a lot of my work, and I have, and I did, and that's what I mean. Of like, it's not the place where where now I'm going to, but I can do most of it there.
Yeah, that's
they flip around that way.
That's how I sort of gave myself an out in the sense that like I redid my entire desk and my whole workstation in a way that I'm like, okay, this desk, this setup supports 3 computers: my gaming PC, my MacBook Air, and my iPad Pro. At any point, I can unplug a single cable, put in my iPad Pro, press the 2 button on my keyboard and on my mouse, and I'm good to go with the iPad Pro. But why would I? Like that's the question. If I have at my disposal in front of me iPad Pro on one side and MacBook Air on the other, and like the task for the day is get your work done, why would I do it on the iPad Pro given the current limitations? That's the where we ended up. So I think I'm actually like, for the past month or so, where I finally accepted this, it's been such a relief for my mental health to just accept this. I honestly think in a way, it's sort of been like a sort of like digital grieving process, like just accepting that like, okay, I guess I'm a Mac user and the iPad Pro has changed its role in my life now. You know, because I've built so much of my, sort of online identity and work and habits, like all of it around the iPad Pro. It's been kind of like losing a loved one, obviously.
Well, but
like,
you had to put so much energy over the last amount of years into fighting with people who would tell you that you couldn't do what you were doing a certain way, and that was the way you wanted to do it then. And so like there is just an element of like you've chosen to go down a different path because shocker, people can change, right? And their priorities can change. And that means letting go of a part of your personality and a part of the way people see you, so it becomes your identity in a way that, like, this isn't like a woe is me kind of situation. Federico having to do this is like, it becomes like a thing. You, listener out there, making this change. It's just like a change you made. But like if Federico makes a change like this, it's like, the people are like, why have you done this? Or, haha, I told you. And like, like, and it just goes on, right?
Yeah.
Rather than it just being like a change a guy made, you know?
I get emails. I get a whole thing going on Discord. And it's like, it's what happens when, and I'm, extremely grateful when you have an audience, especially an audience that pays attention to your decisions. Thankfully, many of them do. But that's the consequence of it. It's like now your decision generates opinions that are directed at you. Some of them in a very loving and polite way, others not so much. Yeah. But it's like, I have gotten those emails like, haha, I told you, you wasted years of your life. No, I didn't waste years of my life. I had the best time of my life with the iPad Pro. But at some point, and it all sort of, it all sort of happened around the same time of like, yeah, I bought a house, I have new responsibilities. I got to be more serious with my work. Not that I was joking around before, but like I'm doing new things. I'm doing more things. I need to be more, I got to do more. I got to be more efficient because I also have other responsibilities in my personal life now. I cannot waste time, making silly workflows anymore. I gotta get to the point. And Rahman is asking in the Discord, Tichi, is there one thing that caused the change? And yes, so like buying a house was definitely part of it. And the other was like just the disappointment, the sheer disappointment of Stage Manager and the whole drama that I lived for like 5 months last year. Just the years and years of anticipation for proper multitasking on iPad Pro, and what we got was Stage Manager. Like that, I spent like a solid couple of months last summer just completely drained of energy and enthusiasm. Yeah. So that was part of it. The rumors of, get ready, nothing's going to happen in iPadOS land for until 2024 at the earliest. That was also part of it. But the most important thing was, I bought a house. So much of my time needs to go into furnishing this house and finishing this pretty huge commitment that I got for myself. I cannot waste time. When I'm working on my computer, I gotta hit the ground running, basically. Like I gotta sit down, I get work done. Like I gotta be, efficient, go for it. I cannot waste time being like, oh, I cannot do this thing on iPadOS unless I make a wild short. No, I need to sit down, get work done, boom, that's it. And that was the primary thing.
My observation of you over that time, and I'm not saying this is true, but like this is kind of what.
Oh no, this is good. I love this conversation, so thank you for letting me share this.
But like what I saw of you is like all of the other things that Apple had done. Split view, like you could kind of like make them work for you and excuse away the things that didn't work well. It's like, no, it's not that bad. Like, I can only have 2 apps, but I can have a slide over and like I can get you, like this works, right? And you can kind of like, when I say make excuses, I don't mean it in like the negative sense, right? Like you're not like fighting for Apple, but you're just like, I like this platform. I like this device. I like what having a tablet can do for me. The modular computer idea that you really believe in. I can make excuses for this, but Stage Manager didn't work for you. Like it just didn't work. No. Like I think if Stage Manager wasn't so buggy for you, maybe this wouldn't have happened.
Maybe.
Like if Stage Manager worked for you the way it works for me on the Mac, like I just have to get used to some different habits. The problem for you was for the majority of the beta period, and I think still now, like it just was breaking, and I feel like maybe if that wouldn't have happened, maybe this wouldn't have happened, because you wouldn't have had that situation where you weren't able to get your work done, you weren't able to get the review done the way that you wanted because it wasn't finished and it was delayed, right? And you you didn't have as much time to mess around with that. Like you still had to learn it, right? Because you wanted to write about it. But if you would have been able to learn it and it wasn't so buggy, maybe none of this would have happened. Like you would have just continued on the same route that you were on.
That's a great point. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That is also definitely what happened. Like that whole stress last like the final week of August and the first couple of weeks in September. And you can go back and listen to the conversations we had. Like I was like, what am I gonna do?
It was bad.
Like,
You were in a mess.
And in fact, like the thing that sort of turned on like this light in my brain was like I forced myself to just write an iOS 16 review with a different style out of necessity, really. And I had so much fun with it, and it went so much better than years before. And I was like, I see. Interesting. Like, I feel so much better than previous years. And it seems like the people can tell from the story that I had fun, and they're having fun reading it. It's like, interesting. And so, yeah, it was like, multiple things coming together. And I can tell you that right now, I don't know, but for this MacBook Air, I like to observe myself when I'm using a different type of computer, right? When like, how do I feel about this? And I get that feeling that like every single time I want to use it, and I keep thinking about it, and I want to try all the different things, and I want to talk about it on Unconnected and on App Stories. And when I use it, I have fun, and I'm having, like, it sort of makes me feel again like I was feeling 14 years ago when I started Mac Stories. It's like I get that same type of feeling. Also, it's like the same feeling that you get when you play a really good video game. That even when you stop playing that game, your brain still keeps thinking about it. It'll probably happen with Zelda next month. Well, no, this month. It's May. That feeling that like when you stop using something, you still think about that thing. And I'm feeling that again. And usually that's a very good sign for games or technology. So, yeah. So Ramon, yeah, I don't think there's one thing, more like a combination of things happening at the same time in my life, and Stage Manager on the iPad being shipped in that shape and form caused all of this.
I give you a lot of credit for this because you have built your business and a lot of your online persona as the iPad guy, right? The guy taking an iPad and making it work from him, coming out of a time of necessity and then moving into this new era of trying to make it work. And as I sat here and listened, like I have so much respect for the decision because you're making it out of like what you need, not trying to continue to force the path that you've been on. And I'm sure that comes with like some existential angst a little bit. I think it would if it were me.
Yeah, well, you guys know what the past few months have been like behind the scenes. Yes, it does. Yeah, but thank you. Yeah.
So I'm excited to see you make this change, and I think that as a reader and a listener of like what you do at Mac Stories and the associated projects, like I'm excited to see your re-entry into this world, because the last time you were primarily a Mac user was a decade ago, right? Even a little bit longer than a decade. And you've chosen a really good time to jump back in the pool. Well, I'll say that. And so it's cool to see.
Speaking of being a Mac user a decade ago.
Yeah, I was just...
Pastor Boy in Discord has just found a Federico Viticci article from October 2012 about Shortcut. Spotlight for the user interface.
The beta of Shortcut that I tested and wrote about. What's that, 11 years ago? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. Honestly, I have no recollection of this. What are these? This is OmniFocus version 2 with the first version of Sylvia's perspective icon? No, it's too soon.
Yeah, it's before that, I think.
It's before. I have no idea what I'm looking at, but I wrote this story. So Yeah.
I
okay.
like launchers. They simplify my workflow while allowing me to save time and be more efficient.
Oh my god! Please don't read it. Just look at the screenshots.
There
Look
is
at
like
the
an
screenshots.
ongoing thing which One True John does for our group thread where he drops in old Federico articles and we will read them and send Federico
They're
screenshots of
terrible.
our favorite passages.
They are bad people because they yes, just they're bad. Just don't read it. Look at the screenshots.
This is why I just make podcasts, because no one's going to listen to the old stuff. It's just too old. It's too long. Takes too long, you know?
This episode of Connected is made possible by Indeed. What's a game where no one wins? The waiting game. When it comes to hiring, don't wait for great talent to find you. Find them first with Indeed. When you're hiring, you need Indeed. It's the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. So instead of spending hours on multiple job sites searching for candidates with the right skills, you can use their powerful hiring platform that can help you do it all. Indeed streamlines hiring with powerful tools that find you matched candidates. With Instant Match, over 80% of employers get quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match their job description the moment they sponsor a job, according to Indeed Data US. Indeed's hiring platform is really awesome because it gets you one step closer to the hire by immediately matching you with quality candidates. Even better, Indeed is the only job site where you only pay for applications that meet your must-have requirements, making it an unbelievably powerful hiring platform, delivering 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined, according to Talent Nest in 2019. Join more than the 3 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post. Just go to Indeed.com/connected. This offer is good for a limited time. So claim your $75 credit now at Indeed.com/connected. That's INDEED. Indeed.com/connected. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Our thanks to Indeed for their support of the show and Relay FM. So I have a replacement truck, which I'm very excited about.
It's new, right?
It's brand new. I was looking at a used truck and then it showed up. I had to transfer it from out of town and had some problems. And I was feeling sad. I think I was texting you, Myke. I was like, this is just falling apart on me. And there was a Toyota dealership down the street from the lot where we were. I was like, let's just go over there and I got to buy a car. Time is up on my rental. I have the money from my truck that was total. I got to buy something. I'm just going to go on this lot and leave with something, right? Kind of at my end with this whole process. And I've been looking for a Toyota Tundra, a very particular trim level with a couple of options I really wanted. And walked in, there's a sales guy who helped us. And I said, hey, do you have one of these? And I expected the answer to be no, because there have been none of this truck anywhere in the US for sale because they're just not making many of them. I think the car or the automotive industry is still very much in the grips of supply chain woes. So I expected him to say no. And then I was like, I don't know, going to buy a 4Runner or something and be sad for the next 8 years. But he said, yes, we do have one of those. Turns out a guy had ordered one and then backed out of the deal. And I walked in at the time. It would have sold that day to somebody. And it was a color I liked, the options I wanted. I'm very happy with it. Brand new truck. So the plastic on it, it had just come off the truck. They had just delivered it.
Yeah, I said to Adina, I was like, one of the things I love about Steven is that he's so much like me with these things where there was something wrong with the one that you were looking at, which meant, you might have to wait an extra couple of weeks. And instead you're like, screw it, I'm going to buy a car right now. That's how I would do. No, I've decided I'm getting a new car. I'm getting a new car. I don't care what anyone says. Fantastic.
Yeah. And so super happy that it all worked out the way that it did. One of the things in all new cars, so my truck was a 2015, but it was a body style that was 12 years old and they hadn't done anything to the interior. So it was very simple. I had retrofitted CarPlay to it. I put a different head unit in. But this thing comes with a 14-inch LCD panel.
That is ridiculously big.
It is.
That's absurd.
It is absurd. Honestly, I wish it were smaller. Like, it's so big. Thankfully, Toyota doesn't, like, all that it is infotainment. So, like, there's physical buttons for everything. Like, all the HVAC and all, like, the off-road stuff. All that's physical switches. You only use the screen for screen stuff, right? It's not like a Tesla or a Rivian or other vehicles where everything is on the screen. So I like that part.
And do you have a second screen with the dials, or are they dials?
I have dials, and there's a small screen in there too. But it's a lot of new cars. In fact, nicer Tundras than what I bought. The gauge cluster is entirely a screen, but this particular trim level is not. And so, get it home. I spent all day Monday at the car dealership, doing paperwork and stuff, and get it home, and immediately I'm struck by two things. One, this is the first good wireless CarPlay experience I've had. I've tried a couple. I made a video about one particular one. Adapters, like dongles, you can add to your car to like piggyback wireless CarPlay onto your car. And Casey Liss has used one of these for a long time. I've spoken very highly of it. My experience with the couple I tried wasn't very good. It's very laggy, very buggy, and I just sort of gave up on it. And in my previous car, there was no wireless charging. It's like, well, I got to plug my phone anyways to make CarPlay work, and then I can charge it, and it was fine. Like, I had no complaints about that system. Well, this thing has wireless CarPlay and a Qi charger, like under, kind of like in front of the gear shift. You can put your phone in there, and it's got a little charging pad. And it's pretty sweet. It's not as responsive as wired CarPlay. Like on my old setup, I could hit a button and like it would respond immediately. This thing, there's like a half beat, and it's like, okay, next song, there we go. And it's fine. Like, it's not. I mean, this is an amazing vehicle. I can handle a half-second delay when I skip tracks in Apple Music, but I have noticed it's a little bit slower. But it's also pretty sweet to like leave your phone in your pocket or have it on the little charger out of sight.
Can you use it wired, or does it only work?
Yes,
you can. Okay.
I think so. So there are a bunch of USB ports in it. One of them is like a data USB port, and I think it will do CarPlay wired. And then the others are just for charging. So that's all pretty sweet. 14 inches, though, is ridiculous. And it really shows, I think, how, I wrote about this yesterday, how CarPlay was designed for a world with 6-inch displays in cars, right? That was about the size of what I had in the Tacoma, and it was great. Like, it was scaled very nicely. It was very easy to use. It looked good. This thing, it's 1920 by 1080 is the resolution at 14 inches. So the DPI is not great, but it looks fine. But CarPlay, like if you look at the screenshots in that blog post in the show notes, some of it's okay. Like the dashboard view where you get the map and then you get your media controls and everything on the other side, that's pretty good. But then you go into like a media control screen and it's really stretched out and kind of janky looking. And I hope that we don't have to wait for, next generation CarPlay where Apple's going to take over the car, because this truck is never going to get that, right? It's never going to be completely taken over the way Apple seems to want to do. But I would like CarPlay and maybe at WWDC this year to have a refresh in terms of what it looks like on big screens. And I got a bunch of replies on Mastodon, people with like vertical screens and like more square screens. Like, CarPlay does what it can, kind of like auto layout, right? Like, okay, on an iPad this size or an iPad that size is kind of what we're going to do. But car screens are not getting any smaller. And I just wish that, regular CarPlay that we have today would be a little bit more aware, I guess, of like where the world is.
I bet it will be both. Like, I expect that when they have this new CarPlay, the current CarPlay will be better, like will be redesigned, because none of it's running on the car anyway, right? Like, all the car knows is, hey, CarPlay's going on. So like, I expect that like even on cars that don't have that whole like, we now control the entire thing. We've got the, we're doing the dash as well as the entertainment.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have that, I bet they'll still have like a more modern looking, newer version of CarPlay on older vehicles.
Yeah.
I would expect. Anyway.
Yeah, they can't abandon like whatever Apple says, right? Like 90-something% of cars sold in America have CarPlay. A bunch of people want it, right? People are even like hacking their Teslas to run it, doing like crazy things with little third-party boxes and stuff. But it's, there's got to be a middle ground. I don't think they're going to just leave this as it is. I don't think they can, because I think this sort of world of CarPlay that we're in now is going to continue a long time, if not indefinitely, because I don't think many car makers are going to cede the entire interface over to Apple. In fact, we've seen, and Myke, you and Jason have talked a lot about this, and Jason's written a lot about this. GM in its future electric vehicles is going to remove CarPlay and Android Auto because they want to control the whole experience. So I think this projection system is where a lot of us are going to stay for a long time, and hopefully Apple just has some resources that it can put towards this, because it does, like, honestly, the built-in Toyota media system, those screens, like their playback control screens, like they look better than what Apple does. And it shows the artwork and it shows the controls and like it's all there. Now their map is hideous and like the rest of it's kind of weird, but their playback screen is takes better use of the space, I would say, than Apple. And that's kind of a sad thing, because like Toyota doesn't have good UI designers, or if they do, their work is like pretty chopped up by the time it goes out the door.
What is that, Bluetooth?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have the car doesn't have like a cell connection or anything. Like it's all from your phone.
It does for the first year, and then we'll see how much Toyota wants me to pay for it. It has 4G, and so it has its own maps that run, and it can get over-the-air updates, and you can like in the app, I can unlock, lock, and remote start the truck from anywhere. So it has that sort of stuff, which is also very nice. I've never had anything like that before.
But like this is the problem, right? Like this is that GM thing. Like what you're talking about is like, why would, like what, from Toyota's perspective, they're like, no, we just want you to pay us that money because Apple's going to give it for free.
Yeah.
Like that's the issue. I don't know how they're going to get around that.
Yeah.
Apple.
Yeah. I'm afraid sort of the short cat's out of the bag, if you will, a little bit here, because these companies are, maybe they're seeing that, oh, well, we can just have recurring revenue, and maybe more people would be willing to sign up for it if it wasn't just for like these limited things, but also it came with these other services and other bundled things where it makes it more attractive. And I like the balance that this vehicle strikes. Like, yes, I can pay Toyota for the data and I can see where the truck is and get information from it remotely and get updates or whatever, but I can just get in it, hit the start button, and CarPlay is projected from my pocket. Like, that seems like a pretty good dividing of sort of the scope of what a new vehicle can do, but I am afraid that the ground is going to shift away from Apple.
Well, Apple's website says car announcements coming in late 2023 for the new CarPlay, so we'll see. Maybe it's just Apple Car.
Someone's going to do it, right? Someone will take them up on it, but I just don't see it being as widespread as CarPlay is now. To wind up the show, I wanted to just do a touch base, check-in. Touch-in is the wrong phrase there. We're not going to say that again.
Touch-in was, you mixed a few things together there, I think.
I did. I hit my head. About Mastodon. So we've all been on there, I think, a couple of months now. Myke and I were definitely slower to it than Federico was.
Late bloomers.
And I wanted to first talk about what clients we're using. Of course, you can use Mastodon on the web, and they have their own first-party client. But in the iOS ecosystem in particular, there are a lot of good options. So, Myke, let's start with you. How are you accessing the Don?
Just Ivory. That's the only one I'm using. I haven't really played around with anything else, to be honest. Like, for what I'm using it for, Ivory is great for me. Like I'm having a good time with it. It's a nicely made app, and it has all the features that I'm personally looking for from a Mastodon client right now anyway.
Yeah, I really like Ivory. I mean, I love Tweetbot. I used Tweetbot for however long Tweetbot was around, like the whole time, basically. My only problem with it is that Ivory's really pretty crummy when it comes to supporting users on small instances. So if you're on Mastodon at social, you would never see this. But if you're on an instance with just yourself or just a few people, like the three of us are, say that I want to see who Myke is following, right? Like I want to see who Myke is checking out. Maybe there'll be somebody interesting in there. In Ivory, I go to Myke, I go to his following list. I just see me in 512 pixels because I can only see who you follow on eworld.social.
Well, they're the only two accounts I follow. I only follow you and your
That's
website.
amazing. Well, that's what it looks like. But if I go to Mona or the web or, Ice Cubes, a bunch of these other apps, they have that fuller support. And I hope that Tapbots is working on that. I think they absolutely should work on it because it's a broken experience right now. But if you're on a smaller instance, you run into some of those things. And so I also have Mona installed, and I want to hear Federico's take on that because I know I spent more time with it. It's out now in the app stores of this week. I read that on Mac Stories this week. So I'm hopeful that Ivory and Tapbots continue to adopt the things that make Mastodon.
I don't know how well versed I am to really say this, but it kind of feels like if all they're doing is if it's just one server really is supported fully at a time, it's not really in the spirit of the federation, right? Right? It doesn't necessarily feel very federated to me if I can only really see what's happening in some parts of the app on my own server, when it is technically possible to show me other things. Mm-hmm. Complicated, I'm sure, but that's kind of my point of why I expect they should be working on it because it's kind of part of the whole thing.
Yeah, I've been using Mona on all my devices, and I'm looking at it right now on my MacBook Air on the studio display because they have a Mac app that is out on the Mac App Store. It's universal purchase, and I was a Spring customer before. The same developer of Mona used to make Spring, the Twitter client. And I was able to upgrade for a lower price to they have one-time purchases for Mona called Mona Pro and Mona Pro Max, like the phones. And I was able to upgrade to the Pro Max tier at $9. Very nice discount. I'm using Mona because it does two things that if you know me, that I'm a fan of. The first one is customization for everything. It can be, I think actually for some people, it can be maybe even too much customization. It's maybe a bit too much for you.
It's a bit too much for me. I really like it, but with the amount of time that I spend on Mastodon, which is not as much time I spend on Twitter, I liked setting up Spring. I feel less inclined to spend that work on Mastodon because it's a lot of time for what I'm aiming to do, which is why I like Ivory because it's very pixel perfect, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So. Yes, it can be maybe a little too much. But for me, it really works with that part of my brain that likes tweaking settings and adjusting every single thing I can find. And the second thing that it does well is multi-column. So for example, right now in the Mac app, the divide views, as they are called in Mona, I can have 4 columns or I can have 5 columns on my Mac, and it's basically like TweetDeck, but for Mastodon. And so right now I have my home timeline, my mentions, my profile, and something else that Mona does well, unlike Ivory, it lets you browse the local timeline of another Mastodon instance. So for example, I really enjoy the indieapps.space instance. It's a great way to, check out updates and, new posts by developers of indie apps. And that I can pin as a timeline in Mona, which I cannot do in Ivory. So I'm using these also on the iPhone. It's one of the few apps to do split view on the iPhone. It's one of the apps that does that. And of course, if you know me and if you recall our conversation last year, I would like to see split view on the iPhone at some point. So the thing I will say though is that I do miss the Ivory design and aesthetic. There's something about Ivory that, I don't know, it makes it feel more fluid. It makes it feel faster, even though it's a silly thing. It's not faster. But it's one of those things like maybe it's the custom iconography, it's the animations. There's something about Ivory that reminds me of Reader, the RSS client. It's got that special sort of a something that is hard to describe with words, but it makes it feel unique.
It's a premium experience.
It's
how I feel of it. Yeah.
But it does less than Mona. So if you want to which is why I still have both Ivory and Mona on my iPhone. I'm not ready to make a decision yet, but on the iPad and especially on the Mac, Mona is fantastic because of the multi-column. And I will also say though that it would be great if this client could actually sync my timeline position. In theory, Mastodon does have a service-based home sync, like timeline sync feature, but my understanding is that it's so unreliable, nobody uses it. And so all of these apps, they use their own iCloud-based sync, which means that my timeline position synced from Ivory cannot be the same timeline sync position in Mona, which is unfortunate.
Basically, same as it ever was.
Same as it ever was.
Right?
Yes.
Didn't happen with Twitter apps. Doesn't happen with Mastodon apps either. That doesn't matter. Just doesn't happen. It's really funny.
I like it. I love it. It's, multi-column is great, especially on the Mac. If you have a large display like I'm staring at, I feel so professional right now. But yeah, we'll see. It's let me ask you both though. How do you guys feel about Blue Sky? Because should we have this conversation?
I mean, we can have it. Here's my issue. I just tell you my issue in a nutshell. It's very simple. Yeah. Right? It feels too much like Twitter. And I don't and I stopped liking Twitter. Mastodon doesn't feel like Twitter to me. With the types of conversations, the visual design, I feel like I'm back there, and I didn't want to be there anymore before, which was why I decided I was going to not do any of this stuff. And I'm sure I could tailor my experience, but it just feels like the types of conversations that I've seen and the way people were talking there. It just feels too Twitter-like to me, and that's not what I'm looking for. It's how I'm super bummed about the fact that Mastodon's going to get quote posts. I really don't want that.
Really?
I really don't want that. I think that it is quote tweeting is part of the cultural issues of being on Twitter. I think
interesting.
The pile-on effect and the way people dunk on each other and that's kind of stuff that I just don't want. It's not what I like to see anymore. I'm kind of happy to not get that kind of stuff, and I just feel like Blue Sky just feels just like Twitter to me in a way that when I have an account now. I got a friend of mine sent me an invite, and I've set up an account and I've looked at it a few times, and it makes me feel not good in the way that Twitter made me feel not good, in the way that Mastodon doesn't make me feel that way.
Interesting. I don't have it. If you have an invite, I would love to use it.
I don't have any, but I'll put you on the list of 20 people.
Yeah.
But they don't. When you set up an account, they don't give you invites straight away. You have to be using it for a while before they give you invites, I think.
Yeah, Myke, I 100% agree with you about Blue Sky. I mean, looking through it now, not only from a technical perspective, it and Mastodon feel a lot like Twitter, just the way that it works. You have posts with mostly text, and you can reply and favorite, etc. But the vibe is very Twittery. There's a lot of users from Twitter that have never shown up on Mastodon that are there, reporters and journalists and celebrities and stuff. It's really having a moment right now. Now, under the skin, Blue Sky is sort of like Mastodon, the fact that they're building an API and there could be other clients for it and stuff. None of that is here today, I don't think. And
it is by design will be decentralized. That's the idea. They have to do it, but that's the idea.
Yeah, and a bunch of users on it, just like on Mastodon. Mastodon.social is the biggest server because it's kind of the default. And I think Blue Sky will be the default in its own ecosystem. I kind of think that Blue Sky is having a moment that may fizzle out But at the same time, you see people who are on it. It's like, well, there's a lot of big names on Twitter over here now, and that says something.
Yeah, that is something for sure.
And it may end up being that Blue Sky is sort of the mainstream, and Mastodon is like cool for nerds, and we can just hang out on Mastodon. I mean, who knows, right? Like, this is new territory for the social media landscape. So we're going to have to see how it sorts out. But yeah, right now, like, I'm not super pumped about Blue Sky. I have an account. Someone was gracious enough to give me an invite, and I snagged my 4-letter username, and I'm checking in on it some, but Mastodon is where I feel like currently, at least, our community is, and that's where our effort should be.
Yeah, I'm just, let's say, intellectually curious about Blue Sky. I think Mastodon feels a pretty, let's say, well-rounded corner of my life, and I'm okay with it. But of course, I'm always curious to try new stuff, especially, given some of the names that I've jumped on Blue Sky. But I'll tell you guys this. Now it's been a few months, right, since we started really using Mastodon. It's been like 5-6 months. And one of the things I dislike is a thankfully small part of the community that I've seen on Mastodon, which I don't know exactly how to refer to them. But once I explain what I mean, you guys will know what I mean. It's like the Fedi loyalists, like people who want you to be thinking about Federation all the time. And if you ever so dare to utter the name of something that is not federated, they're going to come after you. And if you don't use open source software and pay for proprietary services, you're evil. Like, you know the kind of people I'm referring to, and they have found really a great place to hang on Mastodon. These are usually the types of people that have some kind of Linux or FOSS references in their bios. And it's like, man, that's too much of that kind of energy is too much for me. Like, yeah, I'm all for Federation and ActivityPub, and like I really do think that switching to Mastodon has been a great thing for me. But it's like I wouldn't sacrifice my firstborn to Mastodon and Federation. Yeah, it's cool, but like it's like I don't want to be thinking about it 24/7. Right? And also, I don't go out and just attack people if they're like, oh, so why do you pay? Do you believe in closed software? Like, no, just chill, dude. Like, and I've seen a bunch of those people, and it's like, yeah, it's big eye roll energy when I see those posts.
Yeah, I've just gotten way better about muting people.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But
if someone's gonna come to me with that energy, it's like, we're good. Like, we're good now.
But because of those people, it's not a surprise that some of us look at Blue Sky and they're like, yeah, this is fun. It's not like those, and if they really thought about it, what they're doing with that energy and that attitude, they don't realize that they are effectively gatekeeping the service.
Right, but that's part of the fun, though, right?
For them,
for
yes.
certain types of people, yes, that's what they want to do in a way. It's kind of strange.
And it's so surprised that some folks are like, they look at Blue Sky and everybody's just just having fun there, and they're like, yeah, whatever. I'll use this. I don't want to be dealing with Linux people over there. And so that's something I've noticed, and something worth keeping an eye on in terms of the general vibe.
My kind of like big picture view on this is Blue Sky's not going to replace Twitter for as long as Twitter exists. Once Twitter doesn't exist, nothing will ever be like Twitter ever again.
Yeah.
I think the vast majority of Twitter users, like if Twitter was to shut down, they would just shrug it off and just go somewhere else. there will always be something like it. I don't think that there will be that people are gonna like move on mass to this other thing. Like there will be interest and there will be like people that move and Blue Sky may have a very big following, like maybe a big user base, but like I don't think it's gonna. I think Twitter was like it happened once and it won't continue. Like I don't really think that there's gonna be a replacement. Plus, I mean, who knows? Like, I feel like Twitter shutdown is inevitable, but like it's just going to happen really slowly, and I don't really know what that means. Like, if it just all of a sudden went away, like, would that make a bigger difference? I don't know, but I don't really know what the deal is. But I can't see a path forward realistically for Twitter at this point. Like, I've got multiple emails from companies today telling me that their Twitter integration won't work anymore.
Yeah.
Because Twitter wants to charge $42,000 a minimum for enterprise licenses.
We got that email as Relay that our little thing that we had built years ago to tweet when a show went live or when a show was published, that it was being discontinued. And that was a month ago. And it still works. And it's still the version 1 API keys. I applied for the free access for API version 2, which Relay's use would fit in the free tier, and it just didn't work. So we reverted to API version 1, and like at some point it'll break, and that'll be it. I'm not gonna.
I hope that we don't get a $42,000 bill to the PO box.
That's true. I don't think we will.
Maybe we should just turn it off. Like, why not just turn it off? Like, I just don't really think... Like, because now, none of this stuff's going to work anymore. Like, a huge... Like, WordPress, right? WordPress were just like, we're not... It's done now. Like, you have to post on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and there's going to be tons more like this. Because it's just like... It's not worth it. $42,000... Who is this worth to? That, like, someone can't just pay a social media intern to post? You know what I mean? Like... Who is this worth $42,000 to automatically post?
Yeah,
you can't copy and paste. Like it's just this is a comedy of errors over there, man.
It's the world's most expensive copy and paste, like $42,000 worth of copying and pasting a tweet.
Yeah.
Come on, like I honestly have no idea. Like if he wasn't in charge of Twitter, I don't even think Elon Musk would pay $42,000.
Oh, of course he wouldn't. He'd be furious.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like because stupid. So also stupid. But yeah, I don't know what's going to go on there. But my point in there is just like I just don't really think. I think it was like a once thing, and there will just be different things, right? Whereas like no one ever replaced MySpace, but there were just different things that came after it, like, and they're different in their own way, right? And so like there will just be a different type of social media that will take the place of this for other people, and the tides just move, right? Like we may look back at this time and be like, oh yeah, everybody stopped using something like Twitter, but everyone had moved to TikTok anyway, or like, but then TikTok gets banned and then everybody just moves to Instagram or whatever. It's just like, I just don't really think that there will be a replacement, but there will be an element of people that will want to do something else. Like, but this idea of like, like Twitter accounts for celebrities and brands and stuff, like I don't think something else is going to... I don't think it's going to be Blue Sky either. Like, I don't think it's going to be any of those things.
Maybe we should just go back to forums. That was good. That was good 15 years ago when we had forums.
I mean, that was my whole point when I was not on Mastodon yet, was like, we have this moment, right, to like publish under our own brands and like do our own thing. And I still believe in that, and still am trying to like push stuff through my shows or through 512 instead of just like opening Mastodon and like typing something and it being gone, right? Like if I have an idea, like, so for instance, the CarPlay thing I mentioned earlier, there's a time where that would just been a tweet with some screenshots. And I was like, no, like I'm going to write a blog post and I'm going to link to it and you can see the images and I can have fuller thoughts, right? I'm still trying to do that first, but most people don't want that. Most people want, I'm going to open this app, share some thoughts or a joke or whatever with my friends and then move on with my day. And so whether that's still Twitter or Blue Sky or Mastodon or something else, most people still want something to serve that function. And that's why so many companies and people are racing to be the next one.
Maybe we should just everyone should just iMessage each other. What do you think of that?
Sounds good to me.
Like everyone just shares their phone number in public, and we would just send iMessages to each other.
So yeah, I'm reading this now. So Casey Liz's phone number is. So we can start there.
Start with Casey. Everyone should start with Casey.
Yeah,
he loves it.
If you want to find links to the apps and stories, we see what I did there, did an app stories thing
nice
that we talked about
nice.
this week. Check them out in your podcast player. They're also on the web at relay.fm/connected/448. Couple things you can do. The first is submit feedback. There's a link or a button in your app or on the website, and send us a note. You can also become a member and get Connected Pro, which is an ad-free, longer version of the show each and every week. Starting next week, a bunch of Relay FM shows will be publishing our annual specials. This is an extra episode we do for all members. So if you're an upgrade member and you don't pay for Connected Pro, well, guess what? You're still going to hear our special. We do it for all of our members. So if you're not a member, now is a great time to sign up and get goodies every week, but especially right now in kind of this May-June timeframe. You can find us all online. Federico is the editor-in-chief of MacStories.net, home of automation. It is now May, so that's still going. You can find Federico at mastodon.macstories.net as Vitici. Myke hosts a bunch of other great shows here on Relay FM, and he's the co-founder of Cortex Brand, maker of many fine products. You can find him at myke.social as iMyke. You can find me on Mac Power Users every Sunday afternoon here on Relay FM, and I write at 512pixels.net. And on Mastodon, I am ISMH at eworld.social. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, ExpressVPN and Indeed. And until next time, guys, say goodbye.
Arrivederci.
Cheerio.
Bye, y'all.